Hey guys, it's Taco, and today I'm going to be reacting to Hungrybox vs Armada Melee's fiercest arms race. Uh, the whole Hungrybox vs Armada sort of rivalry is, it holds a unique place in my heart because, like, I got into Melee around like 2019, 2018, 2019, that sort of time frame. And at that point in time, you know, um, this rivalry, the rivalry had come to an end because I joined. I think I joined like immediately, pretty much immediately after Armada retired. But like, when I joined, this was the shit. This was the one thing that everyone across the community was talking about. And nowadays, I feel this sort of chapter in Melee's history is sort of like it is not talked about as much. There is if there's one Melee rivalry that's worth mentioning to anyone, it's obviously Mango versus Armada. Then you've also got, Zane versus Cody, which is sort of like the modern equivalent to all this. And then way back you had Ken and PC Chris. Before that you had Ken versus Isaiah. I don't know if you'd call that a rivalry, but I feel it should count as one. Uh, so yeah, what I'm trying to get at is that I feel as though this rivalry is kind of forgotten. It's overshadowed by a lot of other stuff. And ever since this rivalry stopped being relevant, I've sort of just I haven't heard much talk of it like at all, pretty much, in the time since this rivalry stopped being relevant. So this will be interesting. I don't really know what else to say, so I'll just play the video.
You probably know what's about to happen. It's July 17th, 2016, and Melee is on the biggest stage in fighting games. There are 2 players remaining in the Evolution Melee bracket, 2 players who had spent the last 5 years engaging in one of the craziest arms races Melee had ever seen.
This was right smack bang in the middle of Melee's Evo era. I have sort of like a mixed relationship with with Melee's Evo tournaments because on the one hand, having Melee be on what is basically like the Super Bowl of fighting games, that brings a lot of prestige and positive advertisement towards the game. But on the other hand, like the tournaments had some weird rules, the only reason wobbling ever got like super duper relevant was because when Melee was introduced at Evo, they're like, fuck you community, wobbling is legal now. And yeah, like the only reason why wobbling became so essential to talk about was because of the mixed reception that spawned into the scene when Evo made it legal again, because it was illegal before Evo, but then yeah, like I said, the Evo TOs, they were not having that. And there was a lot of other stuff. I can't remember everything from top of my. Oh yeah, that was another thing. Like for whatever reason, they also insisted that the entire tournament would be best of 3, and then you wouldn't get the best of 5 until grand finals. And I feel like a lot of Melee history could have gone otherwise if it wasn't for the fact that all you had to do in order to beat your opponent was to win twice. I'm not against tournaments using best of 3. it is valid and shit, but like it should transition over to best of 5 at some point before grand finals. You know, like maybe during like the semifinals, top 8, that sort of range. That's perfect. But you don't hold off best of 5 until grand finals. Anyway.
Remaking the game in their own image in the process. First meeting in 2010, nobody could have expected the lengths to which this rivalry would go, and I don't think it would have come as a shock to many to call this one of the more forgettable rivalries between the gods of the game when Mango and Armada were standing right there.
Yeah, what he said. Yeah, I went to, yeah. So, Walt just sort of, he just said what needed to be said right now, because, yeah, this rivalry is sort of just been forgotten to the history books. That was what I was getting to earlier. You know, back when I joined the scene, this rivalry was the shit, and now it's like it didn't even happen. So, you know, it's been a fun thing seeing this community evolve in that sort of way. Yeah.
But Hungrybox and Armada had seen more Grand Finals appearances in this time period than many could count on both hands. And to have perhaps a turning point in their rivalry come here, on the grandest of stages, was symbolic in a way. This is an iconic moment, but HBox and Armada don't know that yet. They only have their history up until this fateful day in Las Vegas, and before we see what comes next, there is so much more you need to know. So let's run it back.
Armada is going into grand finals in a commanding fashion. Does not get the tag.
Tearing a path to the losers bracket. Hungrybox is going to have his opportunity right now.
My name is Adam Lindgren, and I'm better known by the gamer tag Armada. I am the former world champion in Melee, and currently a Twitch streamer playing Mario 64.
It's kind of funny, you know, Armada, you know, he was the ranked #1 in Melee for a really long time. He was, like, in my opinion, like, if you turn back time to, like, 2016 circa-ish, I think Armada should have been considered the GOAT of Melee at that point in time. I think Mango has since surpassed him, you know, he's... you know, Armada retired like years ago. Mango has just kept going, and it's not like he's washed or anything. You know, that dude, he started playing in 2006, and he won a major, like just here recently. That is insane to me, honestly. But yeah, you know, during the sort of 2016, that sort of time frame, I think Armada should have been placed above him. What is crazy to me, you know, because Armada is such an amazing Melee player, and he's also among he's also among the best Mario 64 players. And I probably shouldn't say that because he plays a 70 star. I'm not going to pretend that I know anything about the Mario 64 speedrunning community, but like from what I know, the 70 star category in Mario 64 speedrunning is sort of dead at the moment. You know, most people have moved on to 120 star. I hope I said the right number, or the 16 star category. But still, you know, it takes a lot of skill to get to where he's at in Mario 64, and I honestly, like, the fact that he's so good at both of those games is just, it's mind-blowing, honestly.
The Grand Finals matchup between Hungrybox on the loser side and Armada on the winner side would mark the 29th matchup between these two players. And while this set stands on its own as one of the greatest in Melee history, what pushes it over the top is the context underlying it. The pair avoided each other on Armada's first visit to the United States for Genesis 1. But at Apex 2010, one of Melee's greatest and perhaps most forgettable rivalries got its start. And the reason I say forgettable here was because it was a wash. HBox 2-0'd Armada in winter semis and 3-0'd him in grands. Where the rest of America's strongest had failed, Hungrybox, considered at the time to be one of the weaker members of the five.
I think it's a little funny, you know, Armada has gone on to state that he might be the biggest Jigglypuff hater in the world, because, you know, he said so on some, like, stream. I don't know if you guys have seen this clip, but he mentions, you know, he was watching the Pokemon anime, and, like, you know, Jigglypuff in that anime, she, you know, she kind of sucks, you know. So Armada got mad watching Jigglypuff be the biggest jerkhole in Pokemon, and then he went to a major, and then he lost to Mango's Puff, and yeah, it was a whole thing about Mango's Puff. And then at the same tournament, Hungrybox had his breakout performance. I think that bit's kind of funny.
Five gods stood strong.
A player like Hungrybox, another play-to-win character, he's not going to rush in and just get taken advantage of. He's smart, he's patient. That's a real problem for Armada. I can't seem to find an opening at all. And he beats me very solidly, like 2-0, and I have to go into losers.
With Hungrybox, it was more trying to expose the weaknesses of each in the matchup. And after playing in Apex 2010, I was not of the mentality that it's about winning one game or even one set. I'm more of the mentality that I need to win the most long term. And if I don't feel like I can do that in a matchup, then I don't feel like it's worth it.
But half a year later, Armada was back, and he had a secret weapon. Like, literally a secret. He made every player from Sweden keep it under wraps for like a while.
It was a Norwegian player, Tomberry, and it was one tournament in Sweden. I think
I just played against Tomberry a little while back. What the fuck? Did Armada pull out his young Link against him? Was Tomberry a part of such a great moment in Melee history? What? I didn't know that. What the fuck?
His controller had broken or something like that, so he kind of like just played Young Link. He didn't take the tournament as serious, but he had a good Young Link. And I do remember seeing him doing well against like quite a few Peaches. And then I was thinking like, well, if Young Link can do possibly pretty good against Peach, then that might apply to Puff as well. So I started to like test around playing the matchup against Android for a little bit, and Aeolus for a little bit. And I started to, you know, see things in the matchup that this can work. The community in Sweden was quite small at the time, and the only people that knew about the Young Link pick prior were the Swedes. And I had full faith that if I told them that I want this to remain a secret, then I had full faith that none of them would spoil it, right? Because I believe they wanted me to win in that potential matchup, right? The only thing, like, besides, yeah, Smashboard or, like, Facebook maybe, you had YouTube videos, but we made sure not to record any of these matches as well.
And Hungrybox had no idea what hit him. Their matchup at Pound 5 was utter destruction.
We were about to start, and he was like, wait, are you playing Young Link? And with a smile on my face, I was like, I'm playing Young Link.
I looked at him, and I'm like, are you going Young Link? He's like, yes. And first glance, it's like...
He was like, okay.
All right, first and foremost, I gotta say, oh my goodness. Wow. All right.
Everyone's getting ready for the super long Peach Puff matchup, and then boom. Young Link.
Armada's Young Link was simply too fast and killed too early for Hungrybox's Jigglypuff to keep up. The bomb to dare conversions were vicious, and not to mention, pretty much no one played Young Link at this time. It wasn't exactly the fastest set, but Armada was explosive when he needed to be, and was too slippery for Hungrybox to catch him with the big rests. At Genesis 2, Armada had to prove that Young Link wasn't just a fluke. He knew Hungrybox wasn't going to be caught off guard this time, and he couldn't rely on bomb confirms or any of these quote-unquote early kills. And that was fine. He had told people before the tournament that he wanted to time Hungrybox out, which ultimately led to one of the most dramatic round ends in fighting game history.
That countdown! Oh! He should wait on the platform. He has to wait. Smart. Oh, yo. 9, 7, 6, 5.
Despite failing in spectacular fashion in Game 1, Armada would pull it together, even finding the timeout he was so desperately seeking in Game 3 on a Congo jungle counterpick that had the commentary convinced that Melee was dying right before their eyes. The best players in the world were running away from each other.
Top players in the world that don't know how to approach is fucking embarrassing, man. Embarrassing. It really is, man.
Legalize Congo jungle. Make it so that Congo jungle is the only legal stage, and DK is the only legal fighter. That's the only way of saving Melee, guys.
Now he just has to cheese for 30 seconds.
Hungry Box out of my reps or something.
I mean, he might as well. It shouldn't be too hard for him. I mean, he's been doing it for 8 minutes.
Armada wants to time him out. He told me this. He said he wants to time him out.
That's lame as shit, though.
I think better not grab.
There's a countdown. It's a... 9. Wackest fucking set in the world. Oh, nice. Damn. Oh, whack.
Don't cheer for this.
They're playing the sudden death out anyway. They're playing the sudden death out like bosses. Armada won that anyway.
Oh my God, you suck!
So whack. Armada's just as whack.
I want to see the sheet.
Yeah, I want to see him. Yeah, I think Hungry Box got a switch, man.
Regardless of how you may feel about that, you can't really argue with the results. Hungrybox won their next matchup at Apex.
Someone said that Hungrybox should switch to Sheik. Imagine if that happened. Imagine if Hungrybox just like started using Sheik against Armada's Young Link. How would the world look like today if that happened?
2012, but Armada got him in the run back in losers. That would start a 5-set win streak for the Swede, all of it with the Young Link.
It already was a rumor at that Apex that he was going to play Ness. I'd seen him play, I think it was the same Apex. It might have been 2012, but I think it was the same Apex where he had played Ness against various tall players in friendlies and actually done like pretty well. So I knew he had a good Ness. So going into that set at Apex 2013, I knew it was a possibility, but first of all, from my point of view, if I pick Young Link, worst case that can happen is, I guess, either of the characters, since the Ness is kind of unknown, right? But if I do pick Peach, and he does pick Puff, then I know that that's the worst case scenario. So even if I knew the Ness was on the board, I know that I'm not going to win Peach Puff. Like, he's a lot better at the matchup, and the matchup is very much a struggle for Peach. And I hadn't practiced the matchup for years at that point either. So it was like, it's not worth it to play the matchup at all. So from my point of view, it was more like, all right, I'll pick Young Link, and then he can pick whatever character he wants. I do remember he popped off as he won the double blind, if you can call it that. But I was like, all right, I've never played Young Link Ness, but it's Ness. This character is somehow even worse.
This sort of time frame in Melee was weird, man. Two of the best players in the world were going at each other in the most serious way, using fucking Young Link and Ness. Not only that, but they had basically no clue how to play Young Link and Ness. Like Walt has said in this documentary, this wasn't some like one-off joke or anything. They were going at this shit with like they were as serious about this as it gets. It's weird. It's hilarious. It is what it is.
First, my character. So I'm sure it's going to be at least winnable, right? And it was it was 2 close games, absolutely. And I think it was probably the first and only time that matchup will ever happen.
So now it was Hungrybox's turn to adapt. There was the Ness, there was the Falco, and how could we ever forget the H-Fox? Games were taken, sure, but never.
if there was like a subreddit or something for cursed cursed melee sets, this would be right up here. I mean, Hungrybox played as Fox. He played Fox against Armada. Not Armada's Peach, mind you. Armada's Young Link. It's so weird. Hungrybox is the one player from the era that's famous for not playing Fox. And then this happens, I don't even know what to say, man.
Sets. It took a while, but eventually HBox realized the answer was in front of him the whole time.
So at this point, when I had lost 2 sets, I never believed that it was impossible to win in the matchup. I do think, even to this day, it's probably not that bad of a matchup. I think both me and Hungrybox pretty early on said that Puff wins, but probably not by too much. But the thing for me was like, even if the matchup is like very possible and winnable, I only play Young Link against Hungrybox. No other player, period, right?
At EVO 2014, HBox finally put the Young Link in the ground for good. His Falco got ruined in Game 1 of the best of 3, and after some deep thought, HBox turned the game timer on, switched to Puff, and ditched the chair. You as a viewer can decide for yourself which of these changes mattered the most, but the result was a swift reverse 2-0, at least by this matchup standards, to put Hungrybox in winners finals. Armada made it back for the run back in losers, and this one was much closer. Armada forced a Game 5 and even had the lead midway through. Clutchbox hadn't really been a thing for that long by this point, but he absolutely did show up here, a major turning point in their rivalry.
And that is it! Hungrybox beats Armada! He is guaranteed a top 2 spot! Oh my gosh!
Now, Armada did spend most of the rest of 2014 in Europe. At his only other major of the year, the Big House 4, Hungrybox had failed to make top 8, so the two wouldn't meet again until Paragon 2015. Once again, Armada had many months to plot and plan after Hungrybox had delivered a devastating pair of defeats on a super major stage. And in fairness, Hungrybox should have assumed Armada was cooking up something nasty. After an excruciating first 2 games in which Armada's Peach simply couldn't keep up with Hungrybox's Puff, it was time.
Chill down, man. Fox? Did I hear Fox?
A lot of it came down to the fact that I couldn't really get much practice, and at this point, like 3.5 years later, the HBox was like honestly good at the matchup now, for sure. So for me, it made more sense to find a more reliable pick that can...
Fun fact, this was not the first time that Armada used Fox in bracket. You all know the famous Genesis set between him and Mango. Like in the very last game, right before Armada's about to lose, he switched from Peach to Fox, and at the time, Armada's Fox was not something to write home about. In the grand scheme of things, he was quite bad at playing Fox, I'd go as far as to say. So it's interesting to see Armada's Fox go from being basically a joke character to something he'd used to win super majors. I just wanted to point that out.
And like, guaranteed work long term.
Snatching a win on Pokemon Stadium after HBox whiffed a game-winning rest was one thing, but taking an absolute grinder of a Game 4 on HBox's Dreamland counterpick, that's something else entirely. It took frankly absurd levels of clutch boxing to seal this one in Game 5, and that should have been the sign that Hungrybox's winning streak was going to be short-lived. Hungrybox would find his way through a couple of times, most notably a double elimination of Armada on the Swedes' home turf at DreamHack Winter 2015, but in the 2 years between EVOs 2014 and 2016, it was clear. The Fox was the answer Armada had needed all along. Armada had a 10-5 set count over Hungrybox in that span, including 3 double eliminations on massive stages: EVO 2015, the Big House 5, and Smash Summit 2.
It has been said several times before, and I'll say it again. You know, had Armada just stuck with Solo Peach throughout his entire career, like eventually he would have been able to find something to snatch onto, that like something that would make him defeat Hungrybox every now and then. You know, like Hungrybox would be the clear champion of the rivalry, but you know, Armada's Peach probably would have taken the occasional set off him. But I think that Armada picking up this Fox was by all means the right thing to do, because honestly, he might not have been able to get ranked #1 in 2015 and 2016 if it wasn't for the Fox. If I'm being honest, you know, Laud, who is the best Peach player in the modern day. He has I believe he's defeated Hungrybox like once or twice, and it seems as though he wants to keep going with Solo Peach, and that is respectable. You can get very far with Solo Peach. Laud has been ranked top 10 several times, and and you know, he is on the path that he wants to be. But like Armada and probably several others have stated, if your goal is to be the best in the world and you're maining Peach, then picking up a Fox secondary is the right thing to do, because Peach does have some less than amazing matchups, including Puff, and it is extremely difficult to defeat players like Hungrybox using Peach. So like, if you just go Solo Peach, you have to be aware that you will be quite far behind certain other players, no matter how good you end up becoming. So if your goal is to be best in the world, pick up a Fox. If that's it, if you're really good, but like you don't necessarily want to go as far as best in the world, Solo Peach will get you far. You know, Laud has proven that you can get top 10 with Solo Peach, and you know, you get what I'm saying.
Hey, I'm Walt, and I'm on a beach. Now I'm swimming in the ocean. And now I'm on a boat. No, a bicycle. No, a horse. And I'm surfing. In space. This is my dog. And the one thing all of these things have...
Bit unsure if I should skip this sponsor or not. I think I'll just keep going. You know, if that's something that you guys don't want me to do, I'll skip over any potential future. Like if I ever come across a video with a random sponsor in it and you guys don't want to see that, I'll just skip the sponsor part. I'll just leave it playing for now.
Common, I am on a ton of No, I'm wearing Into the AM. Yeah, I'm wearing Into the AM. Into the AM is a team of artists and creators that's been outfitting your passion since 2012, and they just launched another collection of graphic tees, tanks, and even Hawaiian shirts that are honestly really dope. I wore this tank with Armada. Look, he's in this video. He should probably put his shoes back on. But I was really excited to wear these items from Into the AM, especially during the hot summer months, and I really do think they look stylish and fun for a variety of looks. If you want to get in on the action yourself, Into the AM is doing a 4th of July sale for up to 30% off site-wide, and you'll get an additional 10% off when you use my discount code WALT at checkout. I hope you guys know I try to be as fully transparent as I can when I get these deals, so hopefully you guys can tell I mean it when I endorse a product. But just to keep it a buck with y'all, that link is an affiliate link which will give me a small commission if you get anything with it, so thanks if you do. Thank you once again to Into the AM for supporting my fashion and the channel, and I hope you enjoy today's video.
I do think me, and to a certain degree Hungrybox as well, had that extra consistency that a lot of players did not have.
In a lot of ways, the rivalry between Hungrybox and Armada paralleled the way Melee had evolved since they first met in 2010. These two forced each other to break the social contract that seemed to rule high-level play in the game's early days. Yeah, players were trying to win, but they were going to do it by approaching and scrapping it out and fighting and boxing and being cool. Hungrybox had broken through to the top level in part by refusing to play to these norms. And when Armada realized this, he wasn't about to end the tournaments he had flown across an ocean to attend by just running in on that Jigglypuff over and over until he died. We had been warned, this kind of play was going to kill the game. In a way, maybe it did. You couldn't go to tournaments anymore and expect your opponents to play a certain kind of Melee. You had to accept that some players were going to do whatever it took to win, even if you thought that made them look bad or boring or some much nastier words that you could probably hear on the commentary of old sets.
How close was Melee to dying during this era? That's something I wondered about. You know, you can't mention this rivalry without mentioning that Melee was sort of on the brink of death because of the way that HBox and Armada were playing. Well, like, was it really that close to dying though? I feel like it wasn't a better shape during this time than it was at certain other points. I don't know. If you have some insight on that, please comment down below. I always wondered about this.
That's if you really needed to look back. And yet, here we were, watching the 29th matchup between these two players duke it out in the Mandalay Bay Arena on the Evolution main stage. They're in grand finals of a 2,372 entrant tournament, still the largest offline Melee bracket ever conducted to this day. If Melee had died, then long live Melee, I guess.
As an aside, shout out to the Hungrybox for you know, we used to call this like 70-30.
Yeah.
And now it's like, but he beats every Fox, so...
HBox started the set out with a win on Battlefield and made a huge statement with a 2-stock on Armada's counterpick, Pokemon Stadium. But Armada struck back even harder, with a 3-stock on FD and a 2-stock on Hungrybox's standard counterpick of Dreamland 64. But rather than try it again on the stage that lets Puff live Fox's many devastating upwards hits the longest, he took Armada to Battlefield for game.
Fox Puff is an interesting matchup. You know, it is considered Puff's worst matchup, and I do agree with that statement. But it is a bit interesting because, you know, Fox is perhaps the single most restable character in the game. If a stupid know-nothing Fox goes up against the Puff, chances are that Fox will get his ass kicked by the Jigglypuff players' deadly up throw rest combos. But that does not mean that the matchup is good for Puff, because a really good Fox can really mess up a Puff player's life. I have been experimenting with using Fox against Puff myself. You may or may not be aware, I sort of have this thing going where I use Fox as a secondary against Puff and Ices. I main Sheik, by the way. I don't know if you knew that. You know, honestly, like, I probably could just rock the solo Sheik and still be quite good, but I feel as though I'm genuinely better against Puff and like Ices as well, sort of. Like when I play against those characters, I feel like I genuinely can do better with my Fox than you know, compared to my Sheik. So yeah, you know what? it is a curious little bit of information. So yeah, yeah, that is something you can start a major debate over. Like, if you play like Sheik like me, or Peach like Armada does, or whatever, you know, is picking up a Fox necessary, or should you just keep doing what you're doing? I'm not gonna go too in depth on that matter myself. I'll just leave that up to you guys. No, it is something to think about.
5. There might have been a fear that these two weren't the people you wanted showcasing your game on the biggest stage, and it wasn't a matter of skill, it was a matter of aesthetics. Melee's appeal for so many comes from its speed. Armada and Hungrybox were, at their core, the two best players in the world at shutting down the fastest opponents. The two best anti-swag players in the world. But that wasn't what they were giving the audience on that Sunday. There were no timeouts.
I respect Hungrybox. I respect Armada. I respect pretty much all the other top players. But even I have to admit, you know, Evo, the Evo 2016 Grand Finals, it is amazing. It's one of the best sets ever. But had this been between, say, Mango and Leffen, or, you know, some like Spaceys players, or maybe a Marth player, I don't know, like, it would just be more exciting. Because, you know, it's not that I hate these sorts of matchups and this sort of play, but, you know, high-tech, fast-falling shit, you know, like the Spaceys with their shenanigans, Falcon, that sort of type of melee, in my opinion, it is just genuinely better. It just is, like, objectively more fun to watch. But I have heard conflicting opinions about this. That's my sort of take on this, though.
Not even any near timeouts. That was part of the evolution of their rivalry. They had pushed defensive play as far as they could take it, but that wasn't the extent of their adaptations. Hungrybox's attempts at using Spacey showed he understood the timer wasn't going to be his answer to Young Link, and Armada's Fox showed the same understanding after HBox finally acquired the punish game necessary to make Jigglypuff Young Link look like the winning matchup it actually is.
Young Link? I'll put 55-45. Maybe, actually. I don't think Young Link beats Puff at all. Well, it used to be like really, really hard, and they would kind of pick it. You can camp Puff a lot, but I don't think. Well, no, I put him above. I'll put him here. I'll put him here because he's better. He's better against Puff than these 6. I'll say that. Yeah, Armada and Axe have proven it.
The whole set was more electric than most probably expected from these two, but Game 5 was where things really reached another level. Armada drew first blood with a clean jab up smash. HBox came right back, forward throwing Armada off stage and benefiting from a failed double jump forward air attempt as Armada plummeted to his death, still dead even. Armada again took the lead thanks to a ridiculously clean jab conversion, this time into an up air. And he got Hungrybox to kill percent on the next stock, but the Puff was able to stem the bleeding with a big back air off the left side. A missed tech punish early in the next stock gave Armada the game's first decisive lead of full stock. This one was particularly big as it took the rest off the table for Hungrybox until he could even up the game, and from here it was Armada's tournament to win. HBox and Armada kept trading damage, pushing Armada ever closer to the victory. The first near miss came with 3 minutes and 10 seconds left on the clock, as Puff just barely floated over a Fox up smash that absolutely would have obliterated her. And then, just a few seconds later, came quite possibly the most pivotal frame in Melee history. Hungrybox's SDI saved the stock and prolonged the game, denying Armada an Evo repeat, at least for now. He hit another falling nair, but HBox DI'd that one well too, far enough away to avoid any follow-up. And then, Armada finally...
I once planned to make this video. I'm probably not going to make it, because a lot of stuff has changed and I find it hard keeping up with, but I was at one point in time planning to make a video where I was to try and find an answer to the question of should Steve in Ultimate be banned? And the conclusion that I was going to eventually make was that there is certain elements to those Steve situation that makes him worthy of getting banned. Like, when Big House was getting streamed last year, viewership dropped like the second that Grand Finals began because it was a Steve ditto. And, Steve, like, he just isn't as fun to watch as many others. And so, like, does that mean that Steve is inherently a bad thing for the game? No. Because like what it all boils down to is that like the bigger sort of thing that the Ultimate community, in my opinion, should be focusing on is, do they want to focus on the game's skill aspect or its should they focus on the skill aspect or should they focus on the entertainment aspect? Because if they want to be because if the TOs decide that the tournaments should be as entertaining as possible, then banning Steve, it might be the better decision to make. But if they decide fuck all the Steve haters, this is one of the biggest skill-based games of all that's ever been created. We can't let this shit get in the way. Then Steve should remain legal because just removing a matchup like that, like it obviously removes one of the game's skill aspects. And what I was also going to touch on is that Melee has sort of come to the, Melee has sort of made the decision to have itself be based more on the entertainment aspect. I say that because wobbling is banned, ledge grabbing has been tweaked, and I think that is the better decision when it comes to Melee, because Melee isn't as stable and big as a lot of other esports. I think getting as many people as possible to watch Melee streams is the right way to go. Taking it back to this, Peach and Puff, not much has changed in that matchup. It's not like resting or camping or whatever. Like, none of that stuff has been banned. But I think that had this rivalry kept going to the modern day, maybe things would have gone different. Maybe we wouldn't see things like wobbling and ledge grabbing being banned. I don't know. I feel like there is some sort of connection there.
Made a mistake. After playing immaculately off the ledge, avoiding any punishes harder than a throw, he finally got caught dashing into a back air. The stocks were even, and suddenly, rest was back on the table, and Clutch God was online. Now, is this an even game? Well, no. But in one sense, yes. Both players could conceivably die off of a single hit. Hungrybox nearly gave up that hit too, giving Armada a tournament winner, but he was too focused on his lasers after coming down from the Angel platform. And Armada wouldn't get another opportunity.
Armada not giving him anything. Not what he gets. He gets that could
be it. Somewhere on YouTube there is this amazing edit of this. They've compiled the big sort of highlights of this set. All those games that Armada won, all the games that Hungrybox won. And you have this hype-ass music in the background, and then once Hungrybox wins and pops off, they just make it feel as though it's the most emotional thing ever. I just want to, yeah.
He's got to play one more set. Hungrybox sitting back down.
Now, Armada didn't take that laying down. Hungrybox did jump out to an early lead in the first game of the reset, but Armada's Fox could be explosive from behind in a way his Young Link and Peach just couldn't. Armada carried Hungrybox up the stairway to heaven to take the lead and closed it out from there.
Who cares if you have a 3-stock to 1 lead? You know what I'm saying? Who cares if you're out playing into the neutral?
Right.
Who cares if your punishes look good?
That's Fox Puff, dude. That's the nature of the beast. Oh, what do you got? That's the opposite of the tech trap.
Guess what, Toad?
What's up?
Apparently this doesn't matter.
Well, so much for momentum. All it took was one hit for Hungrybox to swing it back to his side, and Armada wouldn't be able to find any of the brilliant punishes he used to get back into Game 1. We're tied 1-1. Game 3 was on Armada's counterpick, Final Destination. He wasn't able to make much of his first early lead, dying almost immediately after HBox respawned, but Armada was able to take this lead once again, and this time he ran with it. After baiting HBox to approach with a whiffed up smash, Armada found the clean Nair up smash conversion to take a 2-stock lead that he would slowly but surely bring home to once again put himself on Evo point. HBox's Dreamland counterpick failed him in set 1, where he had an additional game to play with. Armada was one of the best players in the world on that stage, and had routinely counterpicked it against Hungrybox at points in their rivalry. But with Battlefield, the counterpick that worked in set 1 eliminated by Dave's stupid rule, Hungrybox probably felt like he had no choice. Including the win in Game 3 of set 1, Armada's Fox had a 13-9 or 59% win rate over Hungrybox's Puff on Dreamland to that point. But honestly, none of the choices looked that good on paper. And it did look rough. Armada found a crazy whiff punish to take the first stock, and when HBox whiffed a rest to lose his second, Armada once again had the inside track to another Evo win. The Hungrybox comeback started slow this time. He chipped away slowly with dash attack of all things, evening out the stock count, but he needed one of those trademark HBox clutch stocks to really bring this one back. Oh, Armada had the advantage early on in the final stock of Game 4, but come on, it's Fox Puff. Do you really think these percents matter?
Armada playing the vertical game. Crouch cancels into a shine, not a KO move. Oh, what's he gonna get? And the rest!
Game 5! He missed the first rest opportunity.
You see it again and again.
In Game 5, we saw Hungrybox pitted against his greatest foe. No, not Armada, he's been playing with him for a while now, not even Game 5 Armada. That would be Fox on Pokemon Stadium. After a tense back and forth first stock, HBox found the lead off of an edge guard and he slowed things down to a crawl. Armada had to grind for the stock, finding multiple jab ones to pop HBox in the air, but was unable to find the follow-up kill shot. But all that time hanging off stage and back airing meant Hungrybox wasn't really threatening Armada's second stock. He piled on a bit of damage, sure, but Armada eventually evened out the stock count. They both played cagey for a bit, only finding some small hits, but then Hungrybox found a grab on the right side, and the next 30 seconds would all but seal the deal. Sure, Armada got him back with the up smash off the Angel platform, but now the situation from the first Game 5 was reversed. Puff had the lead, the ability to run away, and the ability to pop a rest whenever he wanted. It turned out, he wouldn't even need it. Armada did find an up air to take an early stock, but he was already at 138%. And when Armada gave Hungrybox an Evo tournament winner, unlike when the situation was reversed in the first set, Hungrybox did not miss. Welcome to a moment in history.
That'll do it. Armada's got one last chance in life.
Let's go to the skies. Whose ear is this?
Eats a back air. This is big. He recovers. Oh, the tournament winner.
When Hungrybox did this pop-off, everyone was saying that, alright, HBox's pop-offs, they've peaked. He's never gonna do something that's this crazy ever again. Then, fast forward a few years, and guy literally faints on stream.
But a miraculous win in set 1 of Grand Finals, and able to beat Armada on such strong counter stage to Fox. That went to the very end.
Not only that, but the very end of the first set and the second set of Grand Finals. With Armada looking like he was just going to take it all. With a 3-0 comeback in the first set of Grands. Hungrybox with the clutchest of comebacks to reset the bracket. And then a neck-and-neck second set of Grand Finals all the way to the bitter end.
And the book of who is the the best of all time in Melee is open as wide as possible.
Personally, I think both me and Hungrybox, we have always had a lot of respect for each other as people. I've never had any issues with Hungrybox myself, and I don't think he has ever had any issues with me. I do think we both understand the fact.
That's the thing I like about Melee, you know, when it comes to the top level of play, obviously there's going to be more than a few very huge and important rivalries. But with some few exceptions, I feel as though, you know, the community at large has been able to keep things from getting too out of hand. You'll never see Armada sending death threats to Hungrybox. You won't see Zane like punching Toady when he loses to him in grand finals. You know, I'm not here to say that toxic Melee rivalries don't exist, because they do, but I feel like Melee has done a better job than most sports of you know, distancing real life from the game they play.
Fact that we are not always, you know, at times the biggest fan of each other's playstyle when we're playing against each other, but at the same time I think we highly respect the fact that we both really did everything to win. We both did, undeniably. We were both willing to go to timeouts if that's what it took. We were willing to swap to low tiers if we thought that was the right play. We literally like tried all possible options to overcome each other, and I do think that's a big sign of respect if you were to ask me.
Most people remember Melee for its popular combos. People like the flashy, offensive, fast-paced action of the game, and it's hard to blame them. But few, even avid players of the game, can appreciate the intricacies of defense, because it isn't flashy, it isn't offensive, and it isn't fast-paced. But this moment, forever engraved in Melee's history, is kind of a representation of Hungrybox and his career. And there's a lot of beauty in something so ordinary. It's not like Hungrybox hadn't won a major before, but not one like this, and certainly not in the way this one went down. According to data collected by Melee Stats legend Pikachu 942, Hungrybox had won 9 majors prior to EVO 2016. 7 times he had won that tournament without dropping a set. The other 2, he was the one to make it into Grands, got reset, and clawed it back in the second set. He hadn't ever won from losers finals, much less losers quarters, where he had to start his EVO 2016 run after falling to Plup in winter semis. Let's go back to that Game 5 finish from the first set. Armada had it at a few points.
If Plup kept using Sheik against Puff, he never like tried picking up his Fox in any real degree, do you think he still would have reached the heights that he did? Do you think people would think different about that matchup? I guess we also have to put into consideration, you know, in this alternate timeline, Plup never like starts doing whatever the hell he's doing now, where he's like only competes like once every blue moon. If Plup just kept competing at everything and he never picked up the Fox, how good do you guys reckon he'd be?
None more obvious than when Hungrybox SDI'd out of the would-be EVO winning up air. Now let's go back to a question I teased at earlier. Was this actually the single most impactful frame in Melee history? There's a great argument to be made for it, and it's not just because of the stage, not just because of the stakes, and not just because of the size of the tournament. Even without this win, Armada's case as the GOAT is very strong, and anybody who takes Mango over him would be hard-pressed to make a case for ranking Armada any worse than second.
Yeah, you know, I've heard some people claiming that, you know, Hungrybox is the GOAT and whatever, but in my opinion, Mango is the best, and the second place spot cannot go to anyone other than Armada. I remember when HBox got second at Collision, you know, he sort of made the statement of like, what would it take for me to surpass Mango as the GOAT. He sort of hinted at him thinking of himself as being the second best, him having surpassed Armada, basically. I would argue that that is not the case. Granted, Armada hasn't competed at anything for more than half a decade, but his level of consistency and dominance, it's not something that Hungrybox has quite been able to do. One thing that, in my opinion, always this is one thing that I feel like that Hungrybox is a bit handicapped by when it comes to the GOAT discussion, which is that he spent the beginning portion of the 2010s being a really good player, but not the best. He never places outside the top 8. He wins a major every now and then. Anyone would be a fool for ranking him any lower than 5th, but he's not the best of the best. And then we get to the 2017 sort of era, where HBox is a god among humans. No one is able to do basically anything, and he gets ranked number 1 after ranked number 1 after ranked number 1. Then the pandemic hits, and then he reaches this era where he's up there. He's a pretty decent player, but he is far from the best. And then we reach the modern era where he might be top 5, might be top 6, but he ain't up there. And that just isn't the case with Mango and Armada. Both of those players were able to keep some level of consistency throughout their entire careers. Hungrybox did the same, of course, but it's not nearly his dominance just didn't reach the same extent as Mango and Armada's consistencies. Hungrybox's reign of dominance just didn't last as long. I feel like that's Hungrybox's biggest handicap. I feel like that is something that should be that people should bring more attention to.
Closest contender to those two players, though, is Hungrybox, and that is not how it was looking prior to 2016. He had his position as one of the 5 gods, but he was considered the weakest link of that chain for a long time. As great as he was, he never really had a case to be considered the best Melee player in the world, and a lot of that was because he simply couldn't do what he did.
Don't get me wrong though, HBox is definitely the 3rd best player of all time. If you come at me saying it's anyone else, fuck you, you're wrong.
So often in winners when he was put into losers, no matter how late. These kinds of things are just numbers though, and they only have as much power as you give them. But Hungrybox has talked about this in the past. He did give power to this idea that he couldn't pull himself together for losers runs. It's honestly a big part of why he enlisted Crunch's help as his coach, and a big reason why Crunch was the first guy you see Hungrybox find after he comes out of the stupor that overcame him when he closed out that win.
I wouldn't say he was afraid of anyone taking over, but based on the past years, he had been the front runner to do it. I think that's fair to say. At the time, if someone asked me, I probably would have guessed him, but it's hard to say. But he obviously had some very strong years, especially when he started working with Captain Crunch. It was kind of like they unlocked a different level to HBox and his play. And I mean, I think you can see a clear difference from EVO 2015 and forward.
It is a shame that Captain Crunch isn't as active in the scene anymore. He's obviously got better things to do. It's not like I would have done things any differently if I were in his position. But in my opinion, Hungrybox would be doing way better than he is currently if Captain Crunch was still as active as he was at this point in time. Prior to Collision, Hungrybox spent a lot of time practicing with Mewtwo King. So who knows, maybe Mewtwo King will be his new coach, and we'll see sort of, I don't know, a zombified version of H-God. Kind of funny to think about, because Mewtwo King and Hungrybox, they were like the fiercest rivals at one point. So it's kind of funny that we might see a scenario where Mewtwo King becomes Hungrybox's coach.
For Hungrybox.
EVO 2016 changed everything. Hungrybox affirmed himself as Clutchbox, and his losers run play elevated to match what he had already shown on winner's side for so long. He made losers runs to win GTX and the Big House 7 in 2017. He made one of the longest losers runs ever at Low Tier City 7 in 2019. A 9-set romp, one of a select few in Melee history to begin from outside of top 8. The only others who can say they've done that are Mango at Pound 3 and Press Start, and Cody Schwab at the Big House 11 and Battle of BC 6. So it's not just about the insane drama and high level of play that the set brought. It's also about its incredibly pivotal place in Melee history. It was the single biggest turning point in Hungrybox's career. Without this run, without this win, do you really think his 3-year run on top of the game even happens? I don't even think Hungrybox thinks that. Honestly, good luck finding a set that can combine dramatic moments, skilled play, and historical importance like that Grand Finals. And for those reasons, Hungrybox vs Armada at EVO 2016 deserves to be considered the greatest set of all time.
I know it's personal stuff, but he told me, you'll never be the best, you'll be good, but you'll never be the best. So I hope he sees me now.
Thank you so much for watching, everyone, and if you haven't already, please make sure to subscribe to turndownforwalt.
Thank you so much for watching this documentary.
Alright, so yeah. That's pretty much it. Hope you enjoyed this little commentary of mine. If you made it all the way to the end, thank you. What do you think of my commentary? Did I do a good job? Did I do a bad job? Did I make some horrible ass mistakes? Just let me know. This was actually like, I've never done something close to a reaction video before. This is very much my first the first time I've done anything like this. So I'm curious to see how this will all go down. I kind of wanted to have like a face cam thing, and maybe I also kind of want to handle things a little more professionally than this. But like, yeah, I just couldn't get that stuff to work, which is a huge shame. So hopefully I will be able to improve my style of video. I also want a better mic. I know it sounds like I'm talking into a potato when I make these videos, and that is kind of upsetting to me. Yeah, I don't really know what else to say. No, check out my channel. Check out my socials, go to my Twitter, see if you can find any VODs of me. But more importantly though, you should subscribe to turndownforwalt. His content is way better than mine. He deserves more attention. Can't really think of much else to say, so yeah, thanks for watching. Goodbye.